The biggest challenge facing small-scale farmers in Zimbabwe is lack of agricultural inputs due to availability, affordability or accessibility problems. These challenges make it difficult for farmers to increase their yields. That is why, in response, the humanitarian community in Zimbabwe has supported small-scale farmers through free direct import distributions over the last decade. Free direct input distribution was appropriate in the past context of economic decline, which was characterized by inflation, market distortions, shortages of commodities, and relatively high levels of food insecurity. However, due to the recent positive changes in the macroeconomic and food security conditions, there's been a paradigm shift towards more market-based interventions. This approach is consistent with the Zimbabwe government 2011-2012 Humanitarian Assistance National Guidelines for Agricultural Support, which propose that input should be provided to farmers using rural input-output markets, and farmers contribute 10% towards inputs received through the use of subsidized vouchers and/or contract farming arrangements. It's against this background that the Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO, with funding from the Royal Netherlands, is working with a number of partners in implementing the voucher system for agriculture input support.
FAO is willing to promote market-based interventions and to benefit from the improvement of the macroeconomic situation in Zimbabwe. We hope this project will contribute to re-establish the formal input supply markets, and it's also in line with the national priority, which is to move away from free handouts. The objective mainly is to give choice to the farmers a choice on items they buy, so what, where and when they can buy these items.
Implementation of the voucher program is done through a coordinated partnership that involves Ministry of Agriculture, Mechanization and Irrigation Development, Electronic Voucher System Technical Provider, Implementing Partners, Smallholder Farmers and Agro-Dealers.
We have the usual actors of the supply chain, in that case the agro-dealers. We have a financial institution, which is Kingdom Bank, and we have the government extension services, Agritechs, who have been providing identification of beneficiaries and also extension support.
Kingdom Bank, a local financial institution, won the tender to produce and provide electronic vouchers and associated mobile transactions, following a competitive selection process. Vouchers are issued out to beneficiaries who in turn use them to purchase agriculture inputs from the agro-dealer outlets.
And our main mandate in this program was to deploy devices in various districts where we had Marondera, Goromonzi, UMP. We deployed 25 devices into these areas, and we went on to train agro-dealers in these areas, and we also did a training for FAO staff where we were taking them through how the system works, as well as the implementing partners. We also printed 4,100 cards. That was one of our mandates, which we delivered to FAO for distribution to the beneficiaries. Most beneficiaries, they managed to purchase without any major problems that we witnessed on the ground. And in cases where we had some problems, our teams were prompt in responding to those issues. And also the agro-dealers, the payments, we processed them smoothly. And most of the agro-dealers, they didn't have bank accounts, but we as a bank, we've managed to open accounts for those agro-dealers, and they have been receiving their payments consistently. Then the other thing is that our offline capabilities allowed us to venture into those areas where there is no GPRS connectivity, but the beneficiaries managed to transact from those areas because of this offline capability, as well as our devices with that capacity to process transactions for 40 hours before recharging a battery. And in those areas where we had electricity problems, we were managing to process transactions without even the feeling that there is no power.
We managed to distribute the vouchers very well with assistance from FAO and Agri-Tex. We were working very close with in terms of monitoring the whole project and the implementation of the project and monitoring of the farmers in terms of how they are using the inputs, that's the efficiency and effectiveness of the use of the inputs.
4,100 households received vouchers preloaded with $144. To activate the voucher card, each farmer contributes 10%, which translates to $16. This amount is paid directly to the agro dealers at the time when the farmer conducts initial purchases. The electronic voucher allows farmers the option to purchase $160 worth of agriculture inputs of choice, classified into 4 broad categories: seeds, fertilizers and lime, chemicals, implements and spare parts for farming equipment. To minimize fraudulent activities, various security features are encrypted on the vouchers, and agro-dealers use a variety of verification measures before issuing out inputs.
Ndakatengawo mabhegi maviri edhi, ndikatenga bhegi rimwe chete retop, ndikatenga pombi yokufiritisa donje, ndikatenga miromo miviri yegejo. Voucher yangu ichibva yapera. Pafertilizer ndakashandisa ndakajara chibage. Chimwe chakabuda zvakanaka, chimwe hachina hacho kuzobudawo zvakanaka nokuda kuti mvura yakanga ichita shoma. Mari yakanga isina kunyanya kukwira maningi tikatarisa kuti numa inputs atakazowana. $16 yakanga iri nani.
Inini ndakazotora 2 bags ndine 2 newheelbarrow rangu. Ezvinezvi pavoucher rangu pane mari yasara yandoda kuti nditore shuffle.
Ndakatenga mafertilizer angu ndikapuwa D mairi, AN mairi. Iye zvinezvi kwakwasara balance muvoucher yangu. Ndagona kutenga badza neimwe bhusi yegejo. Dai zvaramba zvakadaro, isu vabereki hatikwanai kuti taona mari. Dai varamba muchidaro tinofara nazvo.
FAO, in collaboration with Agri-Tex, implementing and technical partner, identified 25 agro-dealer shops through which the program is implemented. To further strengthen relationships between agro-dealers, wholesalers and beneficiaries, FAO facilitated the provision of technical training for agro-dealers.
Zvinoda kugadziriswa pamushini ndezvekuti nguva yavakatipa kuti tiite mushini yanga iri nguva diki yekuti tatifanira kuti tibate zvinhu zvakawanda ipapo, asi zvakambotitorera time. Zvakakwiridzira bhizinesi rangu zvakanyanya nekuti ndaiti ndikatengesawo akauyawo nevoucher rakachida kutenga mushopu mangu muine kana ishuga kana ibhaketi kana chii, aizongobvisa mari yake muhomwe kutanga kutenga asi voucher anga ashandisa.
Ichi chakatipinza mutekinoloji because takakwanisa kushandisa mushini yatasingazivi, nekuti vanhu vakakwanisa kutenga fertilizer vakawanda nematengero atachimboita taitengesa zvishoma.
Kutenga kwevarimi rate of turnover iyeyi kasimo makapu katenge tinako kanoita tikwanisa kuti zvose, asi pamwe patingoti netsana napo inetwork, mishini yedu ine problem yenetwork, asi tazoona zvekuita sei zviri kuita zvazvo, dambudziko rondoranga ririmo. Todai chirongwa ichi chiramba chienderera mberi, nedzimweni dzenguva taiona kuti varimi vedu vaikwanisa kungwarira vese vane mbuvha.
Takakwanisa kutaura nemamasupply vachitisupply nemaimwe inputs, mamwe ndichikwanisa kuhodha ndega. Saka tantiniwo ma-seed companies akati wandei akauyewo achitipa seed tichitengesa on commission basis. Tirikunatsoona kuti masales ari kukwirawo nenyaya yekuti patinowanawo macompanies achitipa macommission atiri kuwanayo, tirikwanisa kuwanawo capital yakati kurei kukwanisa kuenda kuhodha zvinhu zvekuti tirikwanatsoona kuti even mastocks edu mashops ari kuchinja, ari kutowedzera.
Through the program, agro-dealers were reintroduced into the market economy and shop owners were able to stock more agriculture inputs than would have otherwise been possible under the current macroeconomic environment.
A lot of farmers have benefited from that program. I wish that program, if maybe it can extend maybe for the next 5 or 10 years. Why? Because farmers are able to access inputs at the right time, and they've got a wider choice. Right? We are looking at the farmer, maybe he has got maybe 2 or 3 items missing in his store. He is able to purchase from the purchases. Maybe in the long run, it is from, say, August or earlier. But on the last minute rush.
Unlike the free agriculture input distribution programs, where farmers are forced to accept predetermined packages which do not take into consideration farmers' needs and preferred inputs varieties, vouchers empower farmers to choose inputs that they require from a selection of agricultural inputs being offered under the program. Similarly, while the traditional links between wholesalers and agro-dealers in rural areas are being established, agro-dealers also get the opportunity to boost their incomes.
Where we believe such a project is paving the way for larger projects, and we think it's important that farmers pay for the inputs they receive. These electronic vouchers work. They're an efficient way to do transactions, and as an exit strategy, it will depend very much on the economic situation in the country. But we believe there will always be some farmers who will be in need of such projects for subsidized assistance.
Re-establishing links between wholesalers and agro-dealers in rural areas of Zimbabwe plays a key role in the country's efforts to reach Millennium Development Goal 1, eradicate poverty and hunger, which calls for halving the number of hungry people in the world by 2015.